Well, hello, hello. Welcome to the show. It is great to be here with you. I hope that you're having a wonderful week as we're heading into the holidays. Happy Wednesday. Let's go ahead and dive right in.
And now, get ready. I present to you Level Up with Winnie Sun. Market Update. Award-winning financial pro. Welcome to Level Up with Winnie Sun.
Well, hello, friends, and welcome back to this show. We are certainly live, and it's wonderful to be here with you. For those of you who are brand new, I'm Winnie, your host, an award winning financial pro, Forbes contributor, and a CNBC council member and contributor. And it's so wonderful to be here with you. Yeah, we're on so many different platforms. So, wherever you're joining me from, thanks so much for making the time. I'm already seeing a lot of friends jump in. It's great to see all of you. Let's start with the market because it's green across the board, which is a good day. We've had a lot of rocky days the last week and the week before. So currently the Dow is up 86 points. The Nasdaq though is up 169 points. Now that's actually good news because the last few days it's definitely been suffering quite a bit. S&P 500 is up 32 as well. So hopefully it closes in the positive. We've got a little bit less than 20 minutes left before the market closes for today, and we'll see what happens for the rest of the week. But I wanted to share with you some big business headlines that I've been reading and studying, and some of the stuff is really interesting. As we go into the end of the year, we're going to see a lot more stories and different trends, like the AI story continues. But this one, I thought you might find interesting. Now, I don't know if you know. I think some people don't know. I've been talking to quite a few folks, and they had no idea. Well, the penny, the coin, the nice shiny copper penny. Well, you might be saying goodbye to that soon because this is being shared on Southern Living. Well, as of um, November 12th, the US Mint has stopped making new pennies due to rising costs. Get this, it actually costs more to produce a penny than actually what the penny is worth. I mean, that sort of makes sense to you, right? Probably costs more than a cent to make a penny. And that's certainly the case. And so the US Mint has stopped making them altogether. In addition, a lot of companies now, retailers are responding by actually rounding up or giving exact change. Some chains like Auntie Ants and the pretzel company and then Jamba Juice, they're actually rounding cash prices to the nearest nickel as well, while others will still ask for exact change. But I think we're going to see more and more retailers having to make that decision because let's face it, if they're not making more, maybe people are keeping them for nostalgia or whatever. Well, more retailers are going to be continuing to accept pennies currently. They might not be in the future. I think that's probably going to be the case. As we know, digital transactions will stay the same. If you're paying by credit card, debit card, some other card, nothing really changes, right? The totals will still be charged to the exact cent. So you're not going to need to round. I mean, as long as they can collect your money that way, that's going to stay the same. But yeah, so there's no real need to panic. Your pennies are still good, they still work. Of course, existing pennies will remain legal tender, and you can still spend, deposit, or even use coin machines for them as usual. They're just not making new ones. So now, do you know that there's not going to be they don't expect a sort of a big value boost on common pennies, like even the really old ones that they don't really expect them to gain significant collector value. But this is just what analysts are saying. This is what they're saying in this particular article as well. But we know there are certain things that we didn't think would be worth very much and became more valuable. But they're saying pre 1982 copper pennies, they said that might fetch, well, maybe 3 to 4 cents each at coin shops. But they said that's about it for now. So they said there are easy ways to sort of repurpose them. You can get crafty. You can turn them into coasters and jewelry or any memory jar keepsakes for these special penny, for this year. But they think that this will slowly cause pennies to slowly fade gradually into the sunset, probably not disappear overnight, but just thought you'd want to know. No more new pennies. And if you didn't know, now you know, right? Now you can talk about something for Thanksgiving. If you're short on conversation, you can be, hey, did you know that they're not making any more new pennies? And then that could be like a 15-minute conversation with a family member or a friend that maybe you didn't know what to talk to them about. Yeah, that's what I think. All right. Well, let's continue on because I want to talk about more stories, and especially one that I think a lot of people have been talking about, and that is the housing market. Now, I know a lot of people have been on the sidelines looking to refinance or purchase their first home, and it's always kind of been toggling of, is this the right time? Are prices reasonable? Are mortgage rates reasonable? Well, I want to share an article that came out by Diana Olick at CNBC talking about, believe it or not, right now could be a pretty attractive time to be a buyer. In fact, they're calling right now a true big buyer's market. It's actually the biggest buyer's market in over a decade. That is October of 2025. And why is that? Well, there were nearly 37% more home sellers than buyers. So when you got more sellers than buyers, it's definitely a buyer's market. Now, this is marking the actually the largest gap since 2013, and it technically now signals a strong buyer's market. So you've been sitting on the sidelines looking to purchase your first home. This could be an attractive time. Now, buyers, though, they're saying they still can't afford to buy in certain markets because they're saying that despite the differences between sellers and buyers, many potential buyers are actually getting priced out due to high home costs, weak wage growth, and lingering financial stress. And of course, not to mention mortgage prices, that mortgage rates that aren't quite attractive enough for some of these buyers to get off the sidelines, which turns this buyer's market into sort of a missed opportunity because affordability is really the king of the hill of the top industry challenge here. Real estate firms are saying that housing affordability far outweighs even other concerns like business costs. This is according to a study recently from the National Association of Realtors. And that prices are still rising. It's just that they're rising a little just more slowly than normal because national home prices were still 1.2% higher year over year in September, with values nearly 50% above pre-pandemic levels despite weakened demand. So high mortgage rates are still unfortunately stinging a lot of buyers. Although rates have dipped from their peak, they still remain almost twice as high during the pandemic boom when a lot of people jumped in to refinance or purchase real estate, which keeping monthly payments really unaffordable for many who have been sitting on the sidelines. So there's been a big shift, and not to mention the impact of AI, and of course the difficulty with finding new work. And of course, we're at the end of the year, which means layoff season, just on top of everything else. So, unfortunately, that's the situation for the housing market. We'll continue to keep you updated as I get more information in that area. But let's continue and deep dive into what I really want to talk about, and what we've been talking a lot about is new technology. There's been a lot of news coming from the major technology companies, and I want to make sure that that's on your radar. Google, for an example, is sharing their new announcement. This is coming out of Google Research, their blog that came out November 18th, talking about generative UI. And so, what is this? Google has developed sort of a new type of AI feature called generative UI, which actually creates full visual interfaces and then not just answers based on what you ask. So, in this particular case, think about games and full tools and even web pages built instantly just for you. That's the next generation. So, you might say, well, where can you try it? It's currently available in the Gemini app as dynamic view and Google Search AI mode. That's already available today. Now, these features are going to give you sort of that custom interactive experience that will help you adjust to your prompt, from learning about science to getting fashion advice, this is definitely something you want to check out. Now, of course, this was built for understanding and action, this new tool. And unlike sort of that traditional AI that you're used to if you use ChatGPT and such right now, that gives sort of more static answers, it's a great tool, but it's mostly static answers, right? Generative UI designs will give you even clickable tools, visual layouts, and that will help you do other things like maybe plan events and maybe study your calculus or explore art, all tailored to how you ask. And this is going to be powered by Gemini 3. Now, this is a system that's built on Google's Gemini 3 model, which includes tools like that image generation, detailed instructions, even smart post processing, just to like improve output and give you better accuracy and most important design. So they're saying this is going to be something that is sort of really leaning into what humans would more so humans would give you in terms of response. So in blind comparisons, they actually said that users preferred generative UI over regular AI responses like plain text or search results. I don't think that's a big surprise. I think we could probably all have agreed that that was the case. But even at this stage, so it just means that as generative AI gets better, can you imagine how exciting that will be for us to try? Now, exciting for us to try doesn't necessarily mean exciting in general, because this could be taking away more jobs that people are able to make a living off and whatnot. But nonetheless, this is coming. So from a technology standpoint, it's exciting, but it also should give us pause to think about what that next chapter is going to look like for us as well, and how that could impact the way that we earn money as well. Now they're saying that second only to websites designed by human experts, this is really popular and there's a lot of room to grow. They're saying this is going to be, although it's already very powerful, it's definitely not perfect, that in the future it will get better. Sometimes it's like slow, sometimes it's slightly off target. I've even noticed, like when I've used ChatGPT to create certain images, the image might be okay, but once you add in text, the text gets all little strange. And so hopefully they'll fix that. But that's sort of the direction that Google is doing. If you get a chance to try it out, like it or don't like it, definitely let me know. Send me a message and let me know your experience with that. I haven't tried it yet, but it's definitely on my radar to do so soon. So I want to share with you, of course, on that note, as we talk about Google and big tech firms, what's been happening over in the area of Meta. This is being reported by the New York Times this week. Well, Meta has won yet another major antitrust case. Now, they've been having a lot of legal issues. I mean, most of the tech companies seem to always have some level of legal issues because of antitrust and monopoly competition and fees and all sorts of things. So I feel like at that level, this is sort of common. But in this particular case, a federal judge did rule that Meta did not violate antitrust laws when they acquired the two companies, the two big ones, Instagram and WhatsApp, and handing the tech giant here, of course, a major victory. The people at Google, I'm sure, are very relieved. Now, the reasoning behind this is they said that the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, which brought on this case, failed to prove that Meta's purchases created a monopoly, noting that platforms such as TikTok and YouTube actually provide strong competition in this space. So the government's sort of buy or bury argument was rejected. The FTC accused Meta initially of buying rivals to squash competition, but the federal court said that there wasn't enough evidence to support that claim under law. So let me know what you think about this. Do you agree with this federal judge's ruling? Do you feel like there is enough competition, right, against Instagram by like TikTok and YouTube and whatnot? I feel like I like to have I like to have different options. So I think in this case we have different options, right? But also I feel like, you know, this is a situation where perhaps they will learn to evolve to sort of create unique experiences for their users and continue to be competitive to work, not only challenge each other, but create more unique experiences for us and tools for us to use as well. So, of course, there's been a mixed track record for these antitrust cases. Now, the government has had wins against Google and in the past, and this Meta case just shows how hard it is to actually prove that a company harmed competition after the fact. So we'll see how that unfolds. I mean, in this particular case, like the FTC actually used over 400 internal meta documents showing fear of competition from Instagram and WhatsApp, but it didn't end up happening. So that is what's happening over at Meta. Now let's jump over and talk about another huge company in the area of Amazon. Now you know Amazon, many of you might even be shopping there this week. You know, maybe you get certain things that you need for your household. I mean, I do feel like Amazon really has become such an integral part of like at least my life at my home for my family and I, because there's a lot of things that we need to buy, and certainly that sometimes it's the most not only time effective but sometimes most cost effective to get through Amazon. But Amazon is also getting into other spaces, and I know you know sort of that transition, but this is being shared by the Associated Press about Amazon's Zook. Now, Zook is a Zoox. So Zooks, maybe Zooks. Well, Zooks, believe it or not, is rolling out free robo taxi rides. Amazon's new self driving car unit, Zooks, is now offering a new robo taxi rides in select San Francisco neighborhoods up in Northern California. Now, this is a second major launch after launching in Las Vegas. I'm just gonna say, hurry up and get here because I could totally use that here in Southern California, and I'm wondering if that's the case for where you are as well, right? So, of course, they're still in testing mode. So, unlike Waymo, Zoox isn't charging passengers just yet, but it's still sort of in that public testing phase, and they need regulatory approval from the state of California before they can actually begin collecting money. Now, this is kind of a unique vehicle design. If you haven't seen a Zoox yet, you can see in the picture here that Curtis is sharing with you. Zoox electric robo taxis are sort of that gondola shaped. You notice that? And there's something that's missing if you look very closely. Well, if you can't see closely, that's okay. I'll tell you what it is. It's missing, well, the steering wheel. This was designed specifically for autonomous transport from the ground up. So it wasn't like it was a car and they took the steering wheel out. No, this was fully designed for this purpose. Now, Waymo, which is a competitor owned by Google, Google's parent company, of course, they did gain approval to charge fares in San Francisco as of 2023. Now, Zoox in comparison is still sort of waiting for that similar clearance. Now, Amazon did acquire Zoox in 2020 for $1.2 billion. And of course, it recently opened a large robotaxi factory in Northern California in Hayward, which of course is designed and planning out to produce up to 10,000 vehicles per year. Now, as someone who lives in California, who travels frequently to Northern California, I think we can agree that this is actually good news because I'm hoping it'll make transportation, number one, public transportation less expensive, more reliable, more safety tested, and cleaner because I understand most of these vehicles are also electric. Now, the bigger picture, of course, is that Waymo currently dominates the US robo taxi space. But I think that you would agree that it's still in a very new stage because many of us, myself included, haven't even ridden in a robo taxi, which goes to show you that there is still plenty of growth in the market, right? And I think until almost all of us have or utilize it on a regular basis, there is still opportunity. Now, currently, they're operating in multiple cities, expanding to like 5 more next year, including Miami and Dallas. I mean, I'm looking forward to riding in one of these. I think in Las Vegas, it makes so much sense, especially because Las Vegas, you know, if you've been to Las Vegas, you know how much traffic there is in the strip, and also how, and sometimes having things that are just more affordable make a lot of sense because you could stay off the strip and be, have the cost of transportation to get you to your destination, whether it be a conference or an event, or any sort of event on the strip. If the cost is less, well, that helps you not feel like you have to park on the strip, which sometimes can be. I was just hearing an conference that's coming up in my industry, that the parking in some of these major hotels are like $30 to $50 per day. I think it's closer to $30, but that gets expensive. And maybe, one of these robo taxi fares would be less expensive than you could say off the strip. So Zoox, of course, has plans to expand to multiple locations, and they plan, expansion plans, including other locations like we mentioned. But Amazon is planning to eventually bring Zoox robo taxis to as many places as they possibly can. And I'm guessing if Zoox, could even eventually be another way to move your deliveries, that might even be possible as well. So the race is right now on driverless rides. So we'll see how that unfolds. But I thought that was kind of interesting. And if you noticed one, or if you've ridden in one, I'm really curious to see your experience. Did you like it? Did you didn't like it? Did you feel unsafe? Um, Let me know your comments down below. I'd love to see. I see Sadiq joining us. It is wonderful to see you, Sadiq. Thanks so much for being here. It says driving in South Florida would not be safe with these vehicles. Why would it not be safe, Sadiq? Let me know. Like, tell us, why would it not be? I'm really curious now. But with that in mind, let's continue on vehicles, because if you didn't know, well, Porsche, I know it's Porsche, but it's exciting, right? I don't know, like if like my youngest son, every time we're driving on the freeway and he sees something like a Porsche, or yesterday there was like a Ferrari on a bed, on a truck bed, and he was like, oh, he gets so excited. Well, Porsche is unveiling a 2026 all electric Cayenne. They are saying that this will be the most powerful SUV ever. This is being reported by Michael Whalen at CNBC. Porsche is going all electric with Power Porsche has introduced the new 2026 Cayenne EV and calling it the most powerful production car in its history, reaching up to 1139 horsepower in 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 2.4 seconds. I mean, if you drive an electric car, like in my case, if you, my Tesla is so fast, but my Tesla is quite old. I bought it a long time ago. Um, but like these electric vehicles, they just move so incredibly quick. Of course, in this particular case, a very fast Cayenne SUV will, of course, put you back a bit. This is not going to be your budget vehicle. This is not going to be replacing your minivan anytime soon, or your small SUV anytime soon, because this high end turbo electric model starts at $163,000. Now, this could be replacing your minivan or your small or mid-size SUV. I could be completely wrong. And that wouldn't be the first time I was wrong. But it is very exciting. And if you can afford one, way more power to you, because this is a beautiful car. This is while the more basic version with a 402 horsepower is going to start about 109,000. So you're talking about a little bit less than like sort of like a Cadillac Escalade electric IQ electric SUV, right? I think that one costs a little bit more, but nonetheless, I think many people who are in the market for this particular vehicle are probably going to want that full high-end turbo electric. If I'm wrong, let me know. But I'm just thinking of my business partner, for example, is a big car lover, and if he were to get this car, I can see him wanting to level up. But this Cayenne EV is going to deliver, they said over 1,100 feet pounds of torque, beating Porsche's previous record holder, the Taycan Turbo GT. They said this is going to charge really quick. There's going to be a wireless option with this 800-volt system. That's cool, right? And a 113 kilowatt battery. It can charge from 10% to 80%, they said, in under 16 minutes. That is amazing. For someone who sat on many electric charging ports, let me tell you, if you can get out of charging to 80% in like less than 40 minutes, that's a good day. So it also, of course, supports the slower wireless charging, but this is, of course, a Porsche first. So pre-orders are now open, and they say deliveries are expected at the end of the summer in 2026 of next year. But yeah, so Porsche, recently scaled back its EV expansion, but I will say there's still plenty of companies that are going all in on electric vehicles. And personally, I think it's a great thing because they said regulatory challenges here in the United States have affected Porsche EV sales. Now, it could be impacted, this car, by recent U.S. policy changes, including the removal of the 7,500 EV tax credit under the Trump administration. But that being said, hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully people will continue to consider and support electric vehicles because certainly they're just so clean. It's so nice to be able, you can stand behind an electric vehicle and you're not like breathing exhaust. It's a great, I think it's a great thing. But with that, let's continue on. I want to talk to you about a study that came out of MIT. I see, actually, let me reference. Sadiq says they cause traffic because the traffic is too wild in South Florida, and those vehicles are for like San Francisco like traffic. Okay, so traffic in South Florida, very wild. I got it. Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much, Sadiq, for that impact. Now let's talk about what's happening at MIT and a report that they came out with this week, as well as The Verge, talking about, well, it's actually two separate articles, but I thought the theme were very similar, so I want to share sort of the story with you, talking about something called a agentic AI, which is like agent IC AI, is sort of becoming a co-worker AI system. It's evolving into autonomous agents that can not only plan, they can act, and they can even learn. With 76% of executives seeing them now as co-workers rather than just tools. I know, bananas, but it's happening, and this is the case. So they're saying, but business adoption now is outpacing strategy, despite a 35% of companies already using agent IC AI and 44% planning to. Many sort of lack that coherent strategy, which of course risks inefficiency and some missed opportunities. But nonetheless, Microsoft's Agent 365 really puts this technology under management. And Microsoft did launch Agent 365, which is a platform that allows businesses to manage AI agents just like they would manage employees. So they're going to be assigning roles, they're going to monitoring tasks, they're even securing data access. Crazy, right? So, yeah, this new technology changes how businesses are going to think about management, middle management, senior management, balancing AI oversight with autonomy, treating software like a hybrid of machinery and staff. Now, if this doesn't sort of make you pause and maybe make you a little nervous, I don't know what will, especially those of you who are managers. It makes me really think about this for sure, because they're going to have real time dashboards and security first, like tools. And so Agent 365 is going to include dashboards for like live performance tracking, built-in security even via Microsoft Extra. I mean, at that point, even less people are going to be needed. This kind of technology, if you're wondering why there's so much interest in like chips and like these data centers and more places, more power centers will run these very very expensive centers and AI centers. Well, now you know, right? And so there a lot of companies are making the difficult decision of moving their spending from places like they would normally use to hire new employees. Now they're using this money, well, to build out these very large AI infrastructures and buying these very expensive chips as well. So, with that in mind, let's segue over to my next story because this is about OpenAI and how what they're doing on AI. It's interesting how fast this is expanding. Like, if you aren't following this, I'm glad you're here with me because I can keep you updated on all the changes because all of this stuff is moving quickly and you really want to make sure that it's on your radar. OpenAI actually this week has just launched ChatGPT for teachers to support K through 12 classrooms. Now you might wondering, okay, does that mean like a computer is eventually going to be teaching my kids now in school? Well, this is being reported by Ashley Kaput at CNBC. talking about how this new live technology, the AI, ChatGPT, OpenAI has re- released and shared out, is launching sort of a specialized version of ChatGPT designed specifically for this age group of teachers, or this, yeah, this, like, this, their classroom age students for teachers all across the United States, called simply ChatGPT for teachers. So this is going to have free access until 2027. They really want teachers to have time to work with it, and it's going to be free for educators through June of 2027, allowing adoption for teachers to try it and play with it and experiment with it, and of course to give evaluation and see what sort of impact this will have. So they say it's going to be built for secure educational use only, so teachers can input student information and collaborate within their districts even. And student data, they say, is not going to be used at all to train open AI models. They say they're going to ensure privacy. That's a good thing. I'm happy to hear that as a parent with children in that age group, who will be in that age group in 2020 until 2027. That makes me happy to hear. They said now that school districts can actually set how the tool is going to be used locally, making it flexible for different school policies and teaching environments to use it differently. And they're going to start with sort of a 150,000 teacher rollout. The first wave will include districts representing about 150,000 teachers, which is going to signal sort of a pilot to inform broader rollout, and so that they can learn from that. So they're saying teachers, but no students, are going to be the users of this particular platform. But eventually, they want to empower educators to sort of firsthand have that firsthand AI experience, so that they can responsibly guide how their students will be using it as well. So it's sort of that the plan for more teaching, planning, collaboration, all that good stuff. So we'll see how that unfolds. I'm interested to see what teachers like and dislike about it. I have a very good friend, and his wife is a school teacher. I think she actually teaches kindergarten or first grade. So I'm definitely curious to see her thoughts on this. And speaking on that, I wanted to talk about another thing that's occurring that could be impacting for those of you who are watching from Modern Mom. Thanks so much for always tuning in. I want to talk about another big story that I think could impact you and your family, and this is Roblox. Roblox, of course, is a very popular game for kids and adults, but it also is sort of a multimedia technology experience. Roblox is now going to require AI or ID age checks to boost child safety. I think this is a great thing. Now, as a parent, I have been hearing for many years how, kids can communicate sort of in many ways with less protections, I would say. And I'll be the first to admit, I don't know all the specifics about Roblox because my kids don't play Roblox, or I don't, and I'm not familiar with their safety provisions and whatnot. But this is being shared on CNN, and Roblox now is going to be tightening age verification because kids are able to chat on Roblox. And so now users are going to have to verify their age using either a government ID or an AI powered face scan, which is now a move designed to reduce adult/children interactions on the platform. Hello, can we have more of that in more places, right? I definitely don't want my kids interacting with adults without me knowing about it. I want to make sure that they stay safe. And we know that there are unfortunately some people that don't have the best intentions communicating with children online. So, in response to this, this follows a lawsuit and a subpoena, of course, alleging that Roblox enabled grooming and the abuse of minors. That's the stuff that I had heard about in different parenting discussions as well. And that is also the reason I've actually always kept my kids off of Roblox personally. But they're saying, tragic incidents have happened, like suicide of a teen who was allegedly groomed through the platform. So, these AI scans, they say, we're going to be will help to this technology will use to categorize users by age range, and the AI tool will be developed by persona and place users into age buckets like 13 to 15 or 16 to 17, and they'll limit chat interactions to users in the same or nearby age groups. I think that's a start. I think, as a parent, I want even more than that, but I think it's a definitely start. Now, this policy does start as a voluntary, but will become mandatory in December in countries such as Australia, New Zealand, and the Netherlands, expanding worldwide in 2026. My question to you, um, for those of you watching also, is how do you feel about that? Early 2026, I didn't name the United States in that. How do you feel about that? But parental controls, they say, will remain in play. Parents can adjust their child's age classifications. So that's good. So it does sound like if you currently use this technology, if your child currently uses it, that this is something you want to get proactive on, do a little bit of research, probably should go to Roblox's website. I'm sure there's more information there just to make sure you know what's happening and you can make those decisions on behalf of your kids. All right. And with that, well, I feel like we've shared quite a bit today. I'm going to go ahead and cap the show here right now. We do, of course, have a few other stories, but I can always bring that back to you another day. And with that, I hope that you have a wonderful day, a wonderful week. It's been a busy one, and we've got a lot more to do here. So take care, be well. Thanks so much for tuning in. And of course, to watch past episodes of Level Up with Winnie's Son, you can check out NASDAQ, Amazon Fire, Roku, and of course, many of the streaming platforms, YouTube, wherever that you like to stream. Thank you so much for your support. And when you share the show online, make sure to tag at Winnie Sun so I can see. I truly appreciate your support. I'll see you again very soon. Bye bye now.